Welcome back to another episode of Friday Night Frights. I am your host, Count Vampire. Welcome to all those who are just joining for the first time. And I ask you to be so kind as to hit that subscribe button for more of my videos. And when this channel grows, good things come your way. Mainly me, not coming after you. No, we give away stuff on this channel, we do. So, we are going to be reading from Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. More chills, or more tales to chill your bones. Collected from folklore and retold by Alvin Swartz, and drawings by Stephen Gamel. You could just see how spooky he is in drawing. Okay, let's get started. This is called The Bus Stop. Only bus stops in my area were so nice. Ed Cox was driving home from work in a rainstorm. While he waited for the traffic light to change, he saw a young woman standing alone at a bus stop. She had no umbrella and was soaking wet. "Are you going towards Farmington?" he called. "Yes, I am," she said. "Would you like a ride home?" "I would," she said, and she got in. "My name is Joanna Vinny. Thank you for rescuing me." "I'm Ed Cox," he said. "And you are welcome." On the way, they talked and talked. She told him about her family, her job, and where she had gone to school, and he told her about himself. By the time they got to her house, the rain had stopped. "I'm glad it rained," Ed said. "Would you like to go out tomorrow after work?" "I'd love to," Joanna said. "Oh, Ed, you are a smooth dog, you." She asked him to meet her at the bus stop, since it was near her office. They had such a good time when they went out, many times after that. Always they would meet at the bus stop, and then off they would go. Ed liked her more and more each time he saw her. But one night, when they had a date to go out, Joanna did not appear. Ed waited at the bus stop for almost an hour. Maybe something is wrong, he thought. Then he drove to her house in Farmington. The old woman came to the door. "I'm Ed Cox," he said. "Maybe Joanna told you about me. I had a date with her tonight." "We were supposed to meet at the bus stop near her office, but she didn't show up at all. Is she all right?" The woman looked at him as though he had said something strange. "I am Joanna's mother," she said slowly. "Joanna isn't here now, but why don't you come in?" It pointed to a picture on the mantel. "That looks just like her," he said. "It did once," her mother replied. "But that picture was taken when she was your age. About 20 years ago. A few days later, she was waiting in the rain at the bus stop, and a car hit and killed her." Oh, I've heard of fated romances, but that takes it to a whole new level. The romance had already fated. She met her fate. Sad, sad story. Sounds like vampires' love life. This one is called Faster and Faster. Sam and his cousin Bob walking into the woods. The only sound were leaves rustling and now and again, and a bird chirping. Oh, how sweet is it, the birdie chirping? It's so quiet here, Bob whispered. That soon changed. After a moment or two, the boys started whooping and hollering and chasing after one another. Sam ducked down behind a tree. When Bob came by, Sam jumped out at him. Then Bob raced ahead and hid behind a bush. When he looked down at his feet, there was an old drum. How fortunate! Sam, see what I found, he called. It looks like a tom-tom. I bet it's 100 years old. Yeah, I bet I'm 100 years old, too. I was 100 years old 200 years ago. Look at the red stain on it, said Sam. I bet it's somebody's blood. Oh, I like the way this kid thinks. Yes. Taste it, son. Taste it. Always have to taste it first before you go and make accusation. Let's get out of here. But Bob couldn't resist trying the drum. He sat on the ground and held it between his legs. He beat on it with one hand and with the other, slowly at first, faster and faster, and almost as if he could not stop. Suddenly there were shouts in the woods and the sound of hoofbeats. A cloud of dust rose behind the line of trees. Then men on horseback came galloping towards them. Bob, let's go, Sam shouted. And he began to run. Hurry! Bob dropped the drum and ran after him. Sam heard the twang of a bow firing at him. Then he heard Bob scream. When Sam turned, he saw Bob pitch forward dead with an arrow in his body. And there was no wound. When the police searched, there were no men on horseback, there were no hoof prints, there was no drum. Only sounds of leaves rustling now and again, and a little birdie chirping. So, moral of the story is, if you pick up a drum, don't start pounding on it. Okay? If it has red stuff on it, and you want to call it blood, like I said, you got to taste it. Just, oh, that makes vampire hungry. Speaking of which, this is called Just Delicious. Oh boy, that's a snack box for vampire. George Flint loved to eat. Every day at noon, he closed his camera shop for 2 hours and went home for a big lunch with his wife, Mina. His wife, Mina, cooked for him. Mina, is that Mina Harker? Jonathan Harker's wife? Oh, hey, Mina. Say hello, little vampire. Oh, Mina, hello. Probably don't want to talk to me. George was a bully, and Mina was a timid woman who did everything he asked because she was afraid of him. On his way home for lunch one day, George stopped at the butcher's shop and bought a pound of liver. Oh, George. Oh, not a pound of liver. 2 pounds, man. He loved liver. He would have Mina cook it for dinner that night, despite all his complaints about her. She was a very good cook. When George ate his lunch, Mina told him that a rich old woman in town had died. Her body was in the church next door, and there was an open coffin. Anyone who wanted to see her could. As usual, George was interested in what Mina had to say. I've got to go back to work, he told her. Oh, I see where this is going. After he left, Mina began to cook the liver. She added vegetables and spices and simmered it all afternoon, just the way George liked it. When she thought it was done, she cut off a small piece and tasted it. It was delicious. The best she had ever made. Oh, I see where this is going, I think. She ate a second piece, then a third. It was so good she could not stop eating it. Yep, she's eating her husband's dinner. It was only when the liver was all gone that she thought of George. He'd be coming home soon. What could I do? We would have found that she had eaten all the liver. Some men would laugh, but not George. He would be angry and mean. He would not want to face that again. But where would she get another piece of liver that late in the day? Then she remembered the old woman laying in the church next door, waiting to be buried. Oh, this is a good story. Vampire like. George said he had never had a better dinner. Have some liver, Mina. He said, it's just delicious. I'm not hungry, she said. You finish it. That night, after George had fallen asleep, Mina sat in bed trying to read. But all that she could think about was what she had done. Why, Vampire, I go get a taste out the snack box once in a while. That's only when they're fresh. Then she thought she heard of a woman's voice. It asked. It was her imagination. She was dreaming. Now the voice was closer. Who has my liver? It asked. Who has it? Mina wanted to run. No, she whispered. I don't have to. I don't have your liver. Now the voice was right next to her. Who has my liver? Who has it? Mina was frozen with terror and she pointed to George. He does, she said. He has it. Suddenly the light went out and George screamed and screamed. Well, it's one way to get rid of a husband cheaply. Don't have to worry about attorneys or litigation. Just feed him a dead person's liver. So I hope you enjoyed Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, Book 3. Old Vampire loves telling scary stories. Fact or fiction. Stories are stories and they're fun to tell. So thank you for joining Old Vampire for Season 5 of Friday Night Frights. I hope you have a fun and safe evening. Yes. And the next time you eat liver, ask yourself, whose was it? We'll see you next week for another episode of Friday Night Frights. Until then, keep a candle lit by your bed, a pillow tucked safely under your head, for you might fear and dread when the night vampire will come. All right, you guys have a good evening. Love you. Bye-bye.